Devoxx UK 2024, coming to you live from London with my favorite Estonian Java champion. How was it?
Yes, that was very good.
Perfect. All right, Oleg Shelajev. Oleg, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Lots of things happened since we spoke last time, and the biggest difference is you have a different T-shirt.
Yes.
Right. So if you might remember Oleg proudly wearing Atomic Jar T-shirt. That was the company behind Testcontainers, and now it's Docker.
Yes, it is.
I mean, how the mighty heroes fallen.
It's a very exciting step in the life of every startup.
What happened? What happened?
December last year, Testcontainers maintainers startup Atomic Jar was acquired by Docker.
What?
Yes, I think it's an incredible opportunity and a step forward. Testcontainers was always reliant on Docker, right? Like we need the Docker runtime to give you the containers and give you this developer experience of testing with real dependencies. So I think it was a strategic acquisition for both of us, and that was just absolutely lovely.
Yeah, no, you know what? It makes sense. As you mentioned, Testcontainers was about containers, which basically means Docker, right?
Yes.
It was like, you know what? Let's take a step back. For those of us who don't know what Testcontainers is at all.
Right. Testcontainers is a collection of open source libraries, and they give you programmatic API to do things with containers. We target pre-production use cases, so that is your local development setups and your tests, both locally and in CI. Because it's in your programming language, you can put the code to manage containers and spin up services in containers right into your application lifecycle or into your application tests. And from within that code, you can spin up services that your application needs. You can say, give me like a database, give me a message broker, give me an Elasticsearch cluster, give me a vector database, give me a container with a Llama running my LLM. You can do that from the code programmatically. That gives you a number of advantages. One of them is that the setup that your application needs and creates from the test will never diverge from the actual application needs because it's right there. And the second is that you don't depend on any external environment. You don't need to talk to your platform team. You don't need to talk to your CI environment to get a static instance of a database running. You are fully in control as a developer, and you can create those environments on a whim. They're ephemeral. We make full cleanup. So if you would like to create a new environment for some naughty tests that, I don't know, break database schema, you can do this very, very easily.
That sounds very cool. It also goes directly into our theme of Build Propulsion Lab, which is developer productivity engineering. And it's actually critical for developer productivity engineering because one of the tenets of developer productivity engineering is foster faster feedback. And in order to do that, you need to get better testing with faster results.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what Testcontainers does. Instead of using mocks, which are not perfect in any way because they don't represent what you're going to have in production, or having a cumbersome testing environments that are unavailable and slow, and also don't represent what you're going to run your production environment on. Testcontainers actually is a win-win because it's exactly what you're going to use in production, and it's blazing fast because they are local ephemeral containers that spin up, you run your test and they die, and it's very fast.
And you also get the environment parity between your CI, which can become your sort of single source of truth for the quality of your application, and your local machine. So because you only need the Docker environment to create the environment, and everything else happens from the code, which is reproducible. If anything fails in CI, you can very easily reproduce that locally. And you can build really, really high-level, high-value test suites, which actually give you confidence that your application works in production, as opposed to just running like a number of unit tests, which test small bits of code in isolation. And then, well, yeah, it's good, right? When it breaks, you know there is an error somewhere and you need to fix something. But when your tests are green, do you have the confidence that stuff will work? And very often teams who rely on just a more unit tests like approach do not. So And besides just faster feedback, a good test suite gives you also improvements on other axes for productivity. It reduces your cognitive load because you don't have to think like, oh, when I'm making this change, is it gonna break something else? Is it gonna am I stepping on the toes of other people developing the same application? Because you can run the test and it will tell you whether you are actually breaking other stuff or not. And even I forgot what this third was. You can be in the zone, right? Because you can be in the flow. Because with the tests, you can always create a next step. You can have a little. You don't have to be like TDD driven
if you don't want to,
if
but
you don't want
also
to.
can be TDD
Yes,
if you
but
want
like you can develop your things, and when you are ready to understand whether you're moving in the right direction, you can create one more test and one more test and see whether those succeed or not. And then on Friday, when you're leaving for a week, you just write one test that fails. And then on Monday, you just come back in and you start fixing that test immediately. And you don't have to spend like half a day remembering what we were doing before. It's
This
amazing.
is-
A
yeah.
test suite, a good test suite is one of the best things that you can have for developer productivity.
I agree, violently agree. I think one more thing I wanted to ask you. So, what Docker as a company brings to test containers? What we can now do more and better that we didn't do before?
There are a number of advantages for test containers to be as a part of the larger Docker family. Um, the most direct ones are that now the test containers team has the much closer relationship uh, with engineering teams at Docker. For example, we can we can have a tighter relationship with the compose team, so the integration and like the facilities in test containers that will work with Docker and compose can be improved dramatically. We'll also have a tighter relationship with the runtime team, so we can maybe make some optimization happen in the runtime that specifically benefit sort of the test containers like life cycle of the containers. Because like normally, if you think about containers, very often like production like environments, you want to run them and then you want to run them for like a longer time. Not necessarily true for all like deployments patterns, but naturally. And in testing, you very often spin containers very rapidly, put them down, spin them again with new environments. Maybe we can benefit from some snapshot restore functionality, so you don't need to initialize containers with your data again and again and again, right? Maybe we can have some flags that will enable sort of developer mode, and they will differently use a disk, because in development and in testing, some failures can be tolerated, right? Like if you're running a test and suddenly everything crashes and you don't save some data from the test, like, well, bad luck, you just rerun the thing again, right? In production, that is unacceptable. So default production configs should be different, and you can get some performance optimizations for development. So that synergy, the compose synergy, and you're just being like at a larger Docker brand, we can now maybe educate more and more people and mass developers about the benefits of test containers and the programmatic approach. I think it's going to be like a wonderful, wonderful life at Docker.
Yep, that's. It sounds like a good fit. We'll obviously see how it works. There's only early days. We're like half a year into this integration. Wonderful things already happened. We're definitely looking for to hear about more exciting innovation that happened to these containers in Docker with you and Sergey and Eli and the entire team. So until next time, Oleg, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for
was
having me.
excellent. And we'll see you soon, right after, live from London, Devoxx UK, Build Propulsion Lab. Thank you. Stay tuned.
Thank you for having me. Happy testing.